You had headphones in almost all day. Commute. Breakfast. Lunch walk. Dishes. 4 podcast episodes today. 1 on behavioral economics during your commute. 1 on productivity while you made breakfast. 1 on geopolitics during your lunch walk. And 1 on psychology while you did the dishes. So why, when your friend asked what you learned today, did you stare at them for 3 full seconds and say, a lot of really interesting stuff? Without being able to name a single specific thing, you did the responsible thing. You filled every dead moment with learning. And the result was a blank stare. Yeah, something doesn't add up. And the uncomfortable part isn't just forgetting. It's the feeling that you showed up prepared and still came up empty. You don't feel like someone who ignored learning. You feel like someone who did everything right. That's what makes this trap so hard to see.
Let me show you what this sounds like in my head, because I have a system. And honestly, I'm kind of proud of it. It goes like this. Commute is 25 minutes. Perfect for a podcast. That's 25 minutes I'm not wasting. Workout is 45 minutes. Another episode and a half. Cooking dinner? Easy. Doing laundry? Obviously. Walking the dog? Of course. I've basically turned the empty spaces in my day into learning time. I'm consuming more information than most people get in a week. And I can feel it too. I can feel myself getting smarter. Except, sometimes I finish an episode and immediately start the next one. And I realize I can't remember the name of the person they interviewed in the one I just finished. Like 30 seconds ago. And the weird part? I don't pause to think about it. I just keep going. Because the next one is already in my ears.
I know that exact feeling. I did it yesterday. Finished a 40-minute deep dive on decision-making and couldn't recall the main framework 10 minutes later. And here's the strange part. It's not that you weren't paying attention. It's almost like the smarter version of you existed only while the episode was playing. And the moment it ended, that version quietly left the room.
Exactly. I was paying attention. I understood it while I was listening. I was nodding along. I had thoughts about it. It made sense. It felt like learning. So how is that not learning?
That's the part that makes this so invisible. Because in the moment, it genuinely does feel like learning. That's not you being delusional. That's not distraction. That's not a short attention span. Think about it. You weren't scrolling while you listened. You weren't zoned out. You followed the argument. You understood the examples. If someone paused the episode right there, you probably could have answered a question about it. So if attention isn't the problem, what is?
Wait, if I was paying attention, if I understood it in the moment, then why can't I explain it now? That doesn't make sense. Understanding and remembering are supposed to be the same thing, aren't they?
So maybe the answer is simpler than we think. Maybe you're just listening to too many. 3 episodes a day, that's still a lot of information. Maybe your brain just can't handle the volume.
That actually sounds right. If I cut back to 1 episode a day, maybe I'd actually remember it.
That's the intuitive fix. And it's partly true. Volume does make it harder. But here's the thing. Remember that blank stare at dinner? Try this right now. Think of the last podcast episode you listened to. Just one, the most recent one. Can you name the single most important idea from that episode? Not the topic, the idea. Whatever just happened, whether you found it easily or felt a reaching sensation, that's information. If volume were the only problem, you'd be able to recall the last one perfectly. It was the most recent. But for a lot of people, even 1 episode is fuzzy. So it's not just how many, it's the way the listening is happening. And I want to be clear about something. This video is not saying podcasts are bad. It's not a digital detox sermon. It's not telling you to stop listening. Podcasts are useful when they answer a question you already have, when you're actively looking for something. The pattern we're investigating is what happens when listening becomes automatic, when the belt just keeps moving. And here's part of the clue most people miss. That little tightening you might have felt just now when you tried to recall the idea and couldn't quite reach it? That strain behind the eyes or the tension in the forehead? Maybe even just a vague, reaching feeling. That's part of what we're tracking. Here's what your brain is actually doing. A podcast is a moving belt of ideas. The host does the organizing. The examples arrive in order. The voice carries you forward. So your brain says, I understood that. But understanding while the belt is moving is not the same as holding the idea after it passes. Following is not the same as keeping.
Because I'm measuring the wrong thing.
You're measuring throughput. How much passed through, not how much stayed. Volume doesn't just add more ideas. It reduces the pause where ideas become yours.
That's why I can remember the vague topic, but not the specific insight. I have impressions, shapes of ideas, but not the actual ideas.
Impressions. That's exactly right. You have impressions of knowledge, not knowledge.
Scrolling through article headlines and feeling informed without reading a single article.
That's the conveyor. Headlines flowed past. You recognize the topics. You feel up to date.
Saving 47 videos to watch later and feeling like you've partially absorbed the content just by saving it.
Same pattern. You watched the item go past on the belt, tagged it, and moved on. The tag feels like progress, but the item is still on the belt.
Listening to an audiobook at 2 times speed and finishing it in a day, then realizing you can't walk someone through the core argument.
You finished the experience. The question is whether the experience finished anything in you. The completion felt like the goal, and your brain rewarded the completion, not the comprehension.
But hold on. I do learn things from podcasts. I've changed real behaviors based on things I've heard. I tried intermittent fasting because of a podcast. I started journaling because of one. Those are real outcomes. So it's not fake. Some of it really does land.
You're absolutely right, and that's important. I don't want to erase that. Podcasts can lead to real change. The question is, which episodes actually changed your behavior? Out of the hundreds you've listened to this year, how many produced a lasting shift?
Maybe 4? 5? 4 out of... Wait, how many have I listened to this year? 300? 400? Oh.
And what was different about those 4 or 5? Think about it. You probably did something with those episodes. Talked about them with someone. Tried the thing immediately. Thought about them in the shower the next morning. Those episodes broke through because something pulled the idea off the conveyor belt and put it in your hands. The other hundreds? They went past. Smoothly. Comfortably. Completely.
So I'm not failing to learn. I'm not getting dumber. I've just been... watching the belt?
That's the knowledge conveyor effect. You've been watching the belt, counting the items, and your brain has been measuring throughput as if it were retention. You didn't build a learning system. You built a consumption system, and input can feel like growth right up until someone asks you to use it.
The volume was never the problem, and it was never going to save me either.
You don't need more episodes. You need fewer items on the belt to actually land. Remember that reaching sensation from a few minutes ago, when I asked you to name one idea and you felt something? For some people, that's a tightness in the forehead. For others, a strain behind the eyes, a clenching in the jaw. Or maybe it's just that tiny mental stretch, like your mind is reaching for a shelf that's a little too high. It's different for everyone. Now compare that to how you feel right after finishing a really good episode. Some people notice a warmth in their chest, a sense of fullness, like you just had a good meal, like you're intellectually full.
I know that feeling. It's comfortable, warm, a little smug, honestly.
That comfortable feeling is not evidence of learning. It's evidence of fluency. Your body is telling you, that was smooth, not, that is stored. The warmth is the conveyor belt running smoothly. The strain is the moment your mind actually tries to pick something up. Next time you finish an episode and feel that warm glow, pause. Try to name one specific idea. If the warmth stays and the idea comes easily, great, something landed. But if the warmth shifts into a reaching strain, that's the conveyor. And now you can feel it. So here's the experiment. It's called the Playback Audit. Tomorrow, after you finish one podcast episode, just one, press pause. Don't start the next one. Instead, take 60 seconds and try to complete this sentence out loud. The most important idea from that episode was, say it to yourself, or text it to a friend, or just finish the sentence silently in your head. The format doesn't matter. What matters is that you try to retrieve the idea instead of just moving on to the next one.
What if I can't finish the sentence?
then you've just caught the conveyor in action. And that's not failure. That's the first time you've looked at the counter. When I first tried this, I was surprised. I thought the sentence would come easily. I opened my mouth and felt the reaching, that little awkward pause. You might feel something like that too.
But if I do this after every episode, won't that ruin the enjoyment? Sometimes I just want to listen.
You're right. And you absolutely can listen for enjoyment. That's not the trap. The trap is mistaking enjoyment for education. So here's the one tiny thing. Pick one episode tomorrow. Just one. The one you're listening to specifically because you want to learn something. And after that one episode, 60 seconds, one sentence, notice where you feel the effort in your body. You're not overhauling your podcast routine. You're inserting one moment of retrieval into one episode. That's it. Here's your field report this week. Try the Playback Audit once a day for 3 days. One episode per day. Pause. One sentence out loud. 60 seconds. Then notice two things. How many days could you finish the sentence without struggling? And where did you feel the gap in your body when you couldn't? Drop your report in the comments. Day 1. Recalled/didn't recall. Felt it in my body location. I'll share my report too, because I listened to 2 episodes this morning while making coffee, and I can tell you the topics, but not a single specific insight from either one. I'm running this experiment alongside you, not ahead of you. The podcasts aren't the problem. Your ears work fine. The conveyor just needs you, once in a while, to reach out and grab something.